Keywords Art, Culture and Society in 1980s Britain is a new take on how the changes in the meaning of the world reflect the cultural shifts in our society. This dynamic expedition takes its name and focus from the seminal 1976 Raymond Williams book on the vocabulary of culture and society.
The exhibition Keywords is influenced by this book that was published in 1976 by Raymond Williams, a cultural theorist, and it explored how language changes and evolves over time, and we wanted to look at the impact that had in artist practice, so people who were working in the 1980s specifically in Britain, and think about how critical theory impact upon the visual arts and that essential relationship between text on the one hand and the image on the other. And it kind of goes outward from there, but it's quite an experimental starting point for an exhibition. I think some people are quite surprised at it because it's quite different for Tate Liverpool. It tries to do something different with how we use text in the gallery, so rather than have purely explanatory texts that are there to support the artwork, we've got words done on a massive scale, essentially the same scale as the artworks, that have a more equivalent, equal relationship, and they were painted on the wall by two artists, Luca Frey and Will Holder. So the installation is conceived very much as a whole entity, with the text on one hand and the artworks on the other being in a kind of symbiotic relationship. I'd say I'm quite interested in criticism. That's one of the ones that we've painted on the wall, and I think you automatically think of criticism as being something negative, but actually it has this much more complicated meaning in relation to literary criticism and critical theory, and I think it was so important at that time, that kind of opening up of what it means to think critically about an artwork, that's the one I always keep going back to myself. What strikes me, having worked on the exhibition, is how many similarities there are between the 80s and now. So a lot of the work in the show was about expressing this kind of political point of view in relationship to very difficult situations, socioeconomic or cultural things that were shaping Britain at the time. And I think, especially for people of a young generation living in Britain now, they could find a lot of similarities between their lives and the kind of cultural issues that the artworks are exploring. So we included The End by Peter Hooton, a collaborative magazine made in Liverpool, to try and allude to that Liverpool-specific context in a much more kind of wider set of issues.